Hey everybody, it's Chainsaw Reacts. A few days ago, Oliver Queen himself from Arrow, Stephen Amell, was on the Inside of You, Michael Rosenbaum podcast, and there's a clip that was circulating around, and I kept thinking about it. I'm going to make a video about this, because Stephen Amell, Oliver Queen, Arrow, Green Arrow, stated that he does have some regret that Arrow didn't last longer than it did, and it wasn't like at the time when he was shooting the show that he wanted to do more seasons, and the studio was like, no, CW's, no. It's more so he was done. And I'm not sure if the rest of the cast was done, but it was clear they were getting tired, especially Steven. And now hindsight's 2020, a few years later, he's now stating that he does have some regret. And he does refer to an interview he heard or read or something, and it's in the clip here I'll play, where someone was saying that we've said all we had to say. And Steven's like, well, I was there at that time, and I felt that same way too. But now I wish we could have maybe done more, maybe get to 200 episodes, because they did cap, I think, around 170 or so. So let's play the clip and let's listen to it, and let's talk about what this could have meant for the Arrowverse potentially if the show would have continued past the wrap-up of season 8, of course, with only 10 episodes around Crisis on Infinite Earths and all that stuff. So let's play it here.
But you did say something like, and I think we've talked about this, but like season 8, you're like, I think this is, we've said all we need to say.
I said that
in
in
Arrow.
season 6.
Right. And so you did 8 seasons.
I only want to pause real fast. I thought that was very interesting. So Steven felt that they had said everything they could have said about, the characters and the storylines in season 6. So they did 2 more after that. And season 6 was considered a weaker season. Season 7, I'm trying to remember all the things that happened. I think it definitely was, I think, a better season overall, season 7 versus season 6. But then season 8, even though, it was a way shorter season surrounding Crisis on Infinite Earths and all that stuff, I think season 8 was awesome. It was very limited, obviously, but interesting. But let's continue here.
Have you ever regretted that decision? Like, I should have got a couple more seasons.
Yeah,
you did.
Sure.
There you go.
Well, listen, I see it all the time. I was reading an article on Deadline about a series that's concluding, and the actor that was being interviewed was like, yeah, I just think that all of us are ready for it to be done.
Careful what you wish for.
And I just read that, and
you wanted
I
to call
thought to
him.
myself, I went, shut the fuck up, man.
You sound like me.
Just shut the fuck up. Because that was exactly me. No. Yeah, we said all that we could say. We're ready for it to be done. Like, we shouldn't have pushed on to 200 episodes or 225 or done 10 seasons.
Right.
It's really difficult to see that at the time. And I don't regret the decision, but, hindsight's 2020. Should we have pressed on a little bit longer? Should we have gotten to 200 episodes? That's a big deal.
Right.
I thought they would have.
It's a big deal.
Why are you cashing in at 170?
Well, you're fucking exhausted.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
I mean, you gotta listen to your body sometimes.
Yeah.
Do you remember when you were done with it? Remember the anxiety you had?
I do, but I also know that I decided I wanted to be done, and then 3 months before we had wrapped shooting, I had already said yes to another lead of a television series.
Yeah.
With no episode limit, with nothing, just as physical.
So there you go. So very interesting stuff here. So first of all, if they would have done more seasons of Arrow, they would have had to have rewritten how Elseworlds first occurred in terms of Steven talking to the monitor, because that was setting up something clearly. Him sacrificing himself in Crisis, which of course happens. Now, of course, a lot of things unfold because of that sacrifice, but they would have had to rewritten that or handled it differently when we got to Crisis so he doesn't die. And the way they were setting up season 8, because the decision that it was the final season, that they were setting up Green Arrow and the Black Canaries to spin off, with Mia being, of course, Green Arrow, and then having the 2 Canaries in the future timeline. So they would have had to rework that. Season 8 would not have been 10 episodes. They would have obviously done way more. And they would have had to restructure, I think, the show overall. And I think the reason why I'm saying that is because you had the future timeline stuff going on. So you would have had to have had certain events occur, because season 8, wouldn't have occurred the same way. You wouldn't have had the future characters pop up in the present day. I mean, I guess you could and then send them back to their actual later time in the future, but I think it would have actually caused a lot of craziness in terms of how did the present day characters handle the fact that they were just interacting with future characters that they weren't supposed to actually meet or all that. So maybe that they could have actually done that, but who's to say? But to hear Steven go, I do regret that we didn't get more, that we didn't do more, but physically for him, he was done. And it takes a toll on them because they shoot these episodes super quick. And like he said in the clip, he already accepted heels before Arrow was even done. He already accepted another show. So he really didn't take a break. Like, he was just pushing and pushing and pushing. Now, as somebody who loved Arrow, I understand why they concluded it. Like, I understand why they had to, because Steven was the center figure, was the focus of the Arrowverse in terms of the character that really started this new universe. Like, he was the lead of Steven was the lead of the first show, Arrow. Of course, spun off Flash, and all this stuff occurred, and everything was surrounding him. So it made sense for him, character-wise, to make the sacrifice, because you don't put Grant Gustin's The Flash in that situation, because clearly his show was going to continue. Clearly his show wasn't going to wrap up. It had more seasons to go. Of course, it went to 9 seasons. But for this, I understand why they did it. But if we would have gotten more seasons, I think there's obviously more story they could tell. Now, what stories would that have been? I'm not really sure. I'm hoping that it would have been good, at least somewhat entertaining, because the show definitely was mixed. Arrow was a mixed bag. I still overall love the show, even with its major flaws and issues and problems. But I also understand the point of needing to end the show. And I think season 8, as I said earlier in the video, that I think season 8 was great. Very limited episodes, but it was really good because they were saying goodbye to Arrow, saying goodbye to this piece of the Arrowverse, but also having it really tie into the overall Crisis on Infinite Earths stuff. And I think Crisis could have still occurred as it did, but you would have had to fundamentally change certain outcomes for Arrow to continue. Because I don't think you continue Arrow without Steven. Because that was, a rumor that, okay, what if they actually continue the show Arrow and it's not Steven, but it's Mia now as the Green Arrow in present day. She came back to our present day and she's not in the future anymore. And we continue season 8 past Crisis and Steven's gone. And we continue with the cast of Arrow without Steven. I don't think the show would have worked. I don't think so. I don't think it would have lasted if they would have done that. I think maybe it would have lasted through the rest of season 8 past Crisis, because they had one more episode after Crisis was done and then Arrow was done. But I don't think you could have continued without Stephen Amell. But I understand why Steven decided it was done. Like, for him at the time, it was done. Now he regrets it now. So could we go back in time and change shit? Sure. But I understand the point of him not wanting to do more because of how physically straining it was. And they put a lot of work into that show, regardless of how you felt about it. Like, there was a lot of work that went into that show. And, when you're in the actual setting, as you said, hindsight's 2020. So when you're in that setting and you're in that place, it's hard to think outside of it in terms of the work and go, yeah, let's push 200 episodes. Because I honestly thought they would have. But, timing of it is really just crazy. But I appreciate Steven being honest here about, hey, I do regret the fact we didn't do more. But at the time, I also don't regret my decision because I needed to do it for myself, even though I agreed to doing another show, lead-wise, Heels, and didn't really give myself a break. So maybe if they would have taken a break after the 10th episode of Arrow season 8 and didn't have any more episodes and would have actually taken an extended break and then come back with season 9 of Arrow, maybe that would have helped. I don't know. But it's possible, because you could have done the 10 episodes. You could have wrapped up the Crisis arc and then maybe have an extended break and then them come back, the following year or whatever. But then again, that's when the pandemic occurred, right after Arrow ended. Like, it was a few months later when Arrow wrapped up is when everything shut down. So timing of it was really crazy. But if they would have had that extended time off and Arrow was still active and going in terms of a show, then maybe that would have been beneficial to take that extended break and then for them to come back after some time, more time off than normal, to feel rejuvenated, to bring the show and continue on to get to at least 200 episodes. Because I really was thinking they would before they announced season 8 was the final season, and it's a very limited amount of episodes. But they had to get Arrow at least up to Crisis to occur because of the heavy connection of Oliver and the Monitor and everything to Crisis. It made 100% sense why they had to at least do a certain amount of episodes to get to that point. But I appreciate Steven for being honest in this. You know, I have a love-hate relationship with Stephen Amell. I've openly spoken heavily and critically about his comments on the strikes during the SAG-AFTRA whole situation that happened a few years ago. I don't think of Stephen. I don't hold Stephen into a high regard like I used to. I still respect him for, you know, him speaking his opinion, even though I don't agree with it. And the fact that he's being honest and open in a lot of these interviews he's been doing. And if you watch more of this interview, like, he goes into a lot of personal stuff, and I appreciate the openness that he has. I still love him as Oliver Queen, still love him as that character. But I have to give credit where credit is due. I appreciate the fact that he's being, you know, open in his interviews, especially talking with Michael Rosenbaum over these years, because he's done a lot of good interviews with Michael Rosenbaum on the Inside of You podcast. And then him talking about this, I think it was just very fascinating to see where, you know, hey, I do regret the fact that we didn't get more seasons, but I also understand at the time when it was actually happening, when I'm actually filming the show, I needed to take that step away. So interesting stuff here. So what do you guys think of all of this? And do you think maybe we could have gotten more seasons, or do you think where Arrow wrapped up made sense overall? Or do you think they could have maybe done more if they would have pushed to 200 episodes? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace out.